You ever see a job listing and think, wow, the pay is incredible, but there is no way I would ever do that? Well, it turns out that gut feeling is actually at the heart of a really powerful economic idea. It tells us that your paycheck isn't just about what you do, it's also about what you're willing to put up with. So let's dig into what that really means.
And this is the big question, right? It just seems kind of crazy on the surface. Why on earth would someone choose to put themselves in a dangerous situation just for a bigger salary? Well, it's not about being a daredevil. It's actually about making a very specific and, believe it or not, a totally rational trade-off.
Okay, so let's make this super real for a second. Look at these two jobs. On the left, an office manager. Safe, comfy, making 50 grand a year. On the right, an offshore oil rig worker, pulling in $80,000. But that higher pay comes with some serious downsides. It's dangerous, it's dirty, and you're out in the middle of nowhere. If money was the only thing that mattered, everyone would want the rig job. But obviously it's not. That extra $30,000, that's not just pay for the work, it's pay for the conditions.
And that idea right there is the heart of it all, the workplace trade-off. It forces us to see our jobs not just as a place where we sell our skills, but as a marketplace where we're constantly weighing what we want against what we're willing to endure.
And yeah, you guessed it, economists have a fancy name for this, a compensating wage differential. Just think of it as the premium, the bonus cash an employer has to dangle in front of you to get you to take a job that's got some rough edges, whether that's risk, noise, filth, or even just a terrible schedule.
I love how this is framed. You're basically shopping in a market for job conditions. You can use some of your potential salary to buy a nicer job, taking less pay for more comfort. Or you can sell your willingness to deal with the bad stuff for more cash, just like that oil rig worker. You're making a real economic decision about your own well-being.
And get this isn't some newfangled idea. We're talking about the father of modern economics himself, Adam Smith. He was writing about this way back in 1776. He knew even then that the nature of the work, the good, the bad, and the ugly, is literally baked right into the price of your labor.
Okay, so for this whole trade-off market to actually work, a few key things have to be true. First, we have to assume that people are trying to maximize their overall happiness, or what economists call utility, not just their bank account. Second, people need to know what they're signing up for. The risks can't be some big secret. And third, they need to have real options, the freedom to say no thanks and find a different job.
So, with all that in place, how does the market actually sort all of us, with our different tastes and fears, into all these different kinds of jobs?
Well, the formal name for this whole sorting hat process is hedonic wage theory. Hedonic is just a fancy word related to satisfaction or pleasure. And the theory is a really cool way to understand the constant push and pull between what we, the workers, want and what employers are willing to offer.
So, let's look at the two sides of this tug-of-war. On one side, you've got us, the workers. We all want more pay and less risk, right? But some of us are really risk-averse and would need a mountain of cash to even think about a dangerous job. On the other side, you've got the employers. Making a workplace safer costs a ton of money, safety gear, new procedures, training. So to make a profit, they have a choice. Spend more on safety and pay less in wages, or vice versa.
And what happens when these two sides meet? The market just sorts us out. It's fascinating. People who really value safety will naturally gravitate to the safer but lower-paying jobs. And folks who are more comfortable with risk, they're drawn to the premium that comes with the more dangerous work. It's a pretty efficient matching system, all based on our personal preferences.
And look, this isn't just some abstract theory. Take the incredible real-world story of the Navajo steel gangs who worked on the railroads. The work was absolutely brutal. Backbreaking labor in the scorching desert sun. They had to live away from their families in these remote bunk cars, but the pay was significantly higher than the average job at the time. And the company found that, for a whole host of complex reasons, this was the group of workers willing to make that specific trade-off for that exact pay premium.
And this quote from one of the workers, man, it just brings it all down to a human level. It's so powerful. He's not saying he loves the harsh conditions. Of course not. What he's saying is that the compensating differential, that extra money, was the best option he had for his family. It was a tough but perfectly rational economic choice.
So once you really get this idea of the trade-off, it starts to change how you look at a lot of other things, especially when we talk about government regulations and company benefits.
So here's a curveball for you. If the government passes a law that makes a dangerous job safer, that's automatically a good thing for everybody, right? I mean, case closed.
Well, according to this theory, maybe not for everyone.
And here's why. Think about it. Why was the wage so high in the first place? It was the compensation, the premium, for the risk. If a new rule comes in and gets rid of that risk, then the company doesn't have a reason to pay that premium anymore. The whole justification for the higher pay just evaporates.
And this is the real kicker, the unintended consequence. The worker who chose that job specifically because the high pay was worth the risk to them, well, now they're stuck in a safer but lower-paying job. From their point of view, their best option was just regulated out of existence, and that might actually make them worse off overall. Now, this same exact logic applies to employee benefits too. It's so easy to just think about our salary, but our total compensation is way more than that. I mean, look at this. For a lot of people, benefits like health insurance and retirement plans make up almost a third of their entire compensation package. That's a huge piece of the pie. So what do you think happens when the government says every company has to provide a new, expensive benefit? The theory of compensating differentials gives us a pretty clear and maybe surprising answer. Ultimately, the workers pay for it. The cost of that new benefit just gets factored in, and it usually comes out of future wage growth. It's the same fundamental trade-off, just in a different wrapper. Okay, so we've gone deep on job conditions, but let's be real, that's not the entire story of why you get paid what you do. We need to zoom out a little bit.
Look, compensating differentials are a massive piece of the wage puzzle. They explain why two people with the exact same skills can earn totally different amounts. But, as we're saying here, they aren't the only piece. There are other major forces at play. It's actually really helpful to think of your paycheck as standing on three main pillars. First, you've got the job characteristics, all the stuff we've been talking about, the risk and comfort that create those differentials. But just as important is your human capital. That's your actual skills, your education, your experience. And third, you have your signals. That's how you prove you have those skills, like with degrees and certifications.
So, at the end of the day, what you take home is this really complex cocktail of all three. It's a mix of what the job asks of you, what you actually bring to the table, and how well you can prove your worth to an employer. And that brings us full circle, right back to you. I want you to really think about your own job through this lens. What's the trade-off you're making? Are you buying a great schedule or a short commute by accepting a slightly lower salary? Or are you selling your tolerance for stress and long hours for a bigger paycheck? What hidden price are you paying, or what premium are you earning right now?